All right, hello everybody. We're going to go ahead and do a demo today, a little bit of an inheritance demo, and we're going to do it with the employee and production worker classes from the assignments located in your book. What we're also going to do is talk a little bit. Well, the thing is I'm not going to take your time talking through PowerPoints. I really want to kind of have videos be an activity as much as possible. So, as I'm doing videos, what I'll be doing is I'll probably be, no, not probably. I will be discussing some of the more heavier portions of the particular chapter. So today, for this particular start of chapter 9, we're going to have 2 weeks on chapter 9. Next week, we're going to get into more on the polymorphism and abstract classes and interfaces and whatnot. This week, I want to kind of give you just a quick demo to starting up an object and give you an idea of what I'm looking for when I am looking at how you authored your objects and how you're submitting them and turning them in. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that particular aspect, that employee and production worker. And of course, we'll be coming back to some of this stuff as we progress, such as a discussion about polymorphism. We may even start that a bit today. So we'll see how far we get. Let's go ahead and start. Let's write some code. What I'm going to do first is I am going to create a project in NetBeans. So I'm going to bring up NetBeans here. And I went ahead and updated to the recent one. Try to keep as updated to the recent ones each year as you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Java ant project. And we're just going to be doing console-based output until we get into the more of the GUI stuff coming up later in the course. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a new project, and I'm going to choose Java with ant, Java application. Then I'm going to say next here. I'm going to go ahead and this is going to be an EMP production worker, chapter 9. I think that will be fine. And then we're going to get our project up and we're going to start writing some code. We're going to begin with the employee class. But let's just, hey, we're writing some code here. We've got our first Java file, which is going to include our main. Let's just do a quick system dot out dot print line, and let's just do a quick hello world. And we're just testing, just getting something going. And then let's go ahead and run that. Make sure that we have there we go. We have our output down here. Hello. So what I want to do is I want to start with an object, and for that I want to create a specific Java file just for that object. Now we could define the object up here, but that's not appropriate. We should be using separate files for our own objects. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to go here to the source packages, and I'm going to say new Java class. Okay, now this is going to be employee, and I'm going to go lowercase. I always just like to write code with lowercase. And let's go ahead and click finish. Now this is going to be the beginning of our object, and we're going to be implementing inheritance when we do the production worker. But first, what I want to do is I want to implement what data is actually going to be stored into employee, and then we need to add accessors. So I'm really looking for three traits of your objects when you author your own objects. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out those traits. One, constructors are called even for base classes or superclasses. So even for base classes, you want to whenever you inherit from an object, it's your responsibility to implement a constructor in the object that you're creating that inherits from the master class. And it's also your responsibility to call the base class's constructor. That's one of the main things that you do when you're working with super object-oriented languages like Java and like C#. Java and C# are pretty much the only real super object-oriented languages out there. Okay, I shouldn't say that. There's more out there I don't even know about, but I'm talking about the main ones. So let's talk about here this employee class and what kind of characteristics it's going to have. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at the assignment for this guy. And I'm not going to implement them all. I'm going to implement a few of them. I'm going to expect you guys to implement, every single one. And an employee is going to have a name and a number. You guys can deal with the hire date. I'm not worried about the hire date. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and implement the name and the number. Make sure you don't forget to do the hire date, guys. Okay, so that's going to be the characteristic of the employee class. And so those three items of an object that I'm looking for: constructors, also overloaded constructors. I want you to be able to set the characteristics of your class. 2, accessors for data in the class. So we're going to be building an employee name and an employee number in here. And so we need to put accessors for that. And another one is, hey, let's make it easier to print this stupid thing. I believe you can override most of these. I believe that you can. We should be able to overload the toString method, or some kind of string method that we're going to be dealing with. So those are the three characteristics to print your object. So we want to when we're developing the object, we want to create the object and test the object. That's what I'm looking for. And I want you to have these three characteristics as part of your object. You need to have constructors and overloaded constructors. Not just one constructor, but a default constructor and an overloaded constructor. Then you need to have accesses for everything that you're going to be using to access the data that's being protected by the employee. And then, of course, we want some way to show that our employee has been filled with data and that has information in it and it's working as intended. And that's where we're going to overload the toString method. I think it's override is the proper term. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up with some private variables, string such as the name. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have an integer called number. Okay, now I have an example piece of code here of some polymorphic Java that we're going to be implementing shortly, but that's going to be in the next one. This one, the rectangle, is kind of just giving me an example of how constructors are done and whatnot. And this is pretty much, it's all C-based code, so it's not much that is different from other programming languages. These are our accessors for the rectangle class. We have our data that we are protecting. That's the important part for the class. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and add a constructor in, both a default constructor and an overloaded constructor. Now remember, a constructor has the same name. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to say here, let's look at the rectangle again. Yeah, okay. So we're going to say public employee. Now this is going to be the default constructor. It's going to have nothing in it. And what it's going to do, all it's going to be responsible for is assigning name. Name equals nothing, essentially. And number equals nothing, essentially. So that's our default state. We're going to also have an overloaded constructor that we're going to send this information to, so that when we create an employee, we don't have to use the getters and setters. We can just send it the data straight through. So we're going to say send in the name and then an integer for your number, and then we're going to assign this name equal to the name that's being sent in. So that's just this right in front of it is just to separate. We're actually referring to set this name, the name inside of the employee object, to the name that we're sending through the constructor arguments. And that's just to differentiate it. This dot number is equal to number. Okay. So that is our first characteristic. We have our string name and our constructor. I think we might be having, I need to probably figure out what's going on there. But anyways, overloaded constructor, regular constructor. That is your number one thing that you need. Accessors for data is the next thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a get and set for name. I want you guys to do your get and set for all the other ones. I'm not going to do the get and set for, you're going to do a get and set for name, you're going to do a get and set for number, and then you need to do a get and set for that date. So we're going to go ahead and add in a public function. We're going to call this one set name, and it's going to be a void return, and we're going to send it a string called name, and all it's going to do is say this dot name equals to the set name. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for get name. But this time we're getting the name, so we got to actually return an employee for the get name. And the get name, we're not going to send it anything because it's just returning the data, the name of the employee. So all it's going to do is return this get name, or this name. And that will get us to having our accessors done. So remember, you got two others that you got to build. I've set the name. I'm getting the name. So that takes us to number 2, accessors for your data. So you have the other two pieces of the data you got to finish on your own. Okay, that takes us into the next one, overloading the toString object. Now I've totally forgotten to do this, and you guys are going to find this with, I develop with so many programming languages every day that I could be writing JavaScript and then write a couple lines, and I'm all of a sudden writing in C++. so I'm always in one language or the other making a right mess of things, forgetting which language I'm programming in, because I work with like 7 of them at least, you know. So often I find myself looking things up with the Google. You guys all know how to do that too. So I'm just gonna look into this. It's just because my mind is it's too early in the morning. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a search for Java overload toString, and that basically we're just telling Java when we overload this when we override the toString method, we're telling Java how to print our employee, because it doesn't know that the employee prints a name and a number. We have to tell it that the employee prints a name and a number, and that's what that toString method is for. When we overload it, and I'm not seeing an actual example here, so let's find another one if we can. Oh, how to overload it properly in Java. Okay, here we go. toString. Well, here we go. This looks. Yep, that's it. Okay. All right. So then we're going to test this, and then we're going to implement our production worker, and then of course we'll have our demo taken care of for the day. So the toString method is going to be in employee, and its whole goal is just to tell employee how to print itself. Okay, so I overload the toString method. Now when you build this return string, you're going to use, in this case, this .name matches up just fine from our example, but a string is what's returned. So when you do a print line of an employee type, which we're going to be doing here shortly, what actually ends up happening is the toString function is called, and it returns the string that we're building here to that print line. So that when you do a print line of your employee, it calls a toString method so that your employee is printed with the information that you decide you want for the employee. So we've got the name, and we're going to go ahead and put in looks like we've got a little bit too many little hungry little there we go. This name plus a space. Then we're going to put in a number, the number with a space. And we'll do a plus here, and we'll say this dot number. Okay, that's our toString method. That's what's going to be used to show our employee information. So that is the third characteristic that I'm looking for an object. Now, of course, we have our 3 characteristics, and now we're ready to test. And so when we test an object, what we're going to do is we're going to fill it with data, and then what we're going to do is we're going to print the data by calling that toString, by having the toString called, or method called. So our object is built. Let's go ahead and go back to our main, and let's we probably need to add in and include for our employee, but it looks like we've got some errors coming up here that I'm going to have to deal with. It looks like string. It's not like in string today, which, you know, hey, I could be writing it incorrectly. So let's go ahead and I'll refresh. Let's go ahead and here, let's go ahead and put in what we need to actually do something here. And let's by including an employee. but we're definitely having some errors there with the string for the Java. So I'm gonna look at. Oh, I got to use capital S, don't I? Really? Yeah, stupid. You know, see, that's just like normal. You know, I was using, you know, other languages. It just drives me insane. You know, some of these things are just, you know, you forget this stuff. I used to do a lot of. One of the main things that I really loved doing Java development with was for native Android applications on a phone for games, Java games. It was a lot of fun. So this one is wrong because we're returning a string, not an employee. So we're gonna fix that. Okay, so now get name is correct with the capital S for string. Okay, I think we might have fixed all the errors here for our initial class. I'm going to go ahead and do a save all. It looks like, oh yeah, our reds are gone. Okay, so let's declare that we're going to have this. Let's go ahead and start using our employee. I imagine I have to. Oh, it already put it in there. No, that's for that one. Yeah, I'm going to have to include that. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do